And a judge in Colorado is hearing arguments in an effort to disqualify former President Trump from the ballot. A watchdog group filed a lawsuit claiming Trump is ineligible to hold public office again due to his alleged role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. They argue the 14th Amendment disqualifies candidates if they engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States.
Trump incited a violent mob to attack our Capitol, to stop the peaceful transfer of power under our Constitution. And we are here because Trump claims, after all that, he has the right to be president again.
Trump's attorneys say the people should decide this issue at the box office, at the ballot box, rather.
It's the people of the United States of America that get to make those decisions, not 6 voters in Colorado who've picked and chosen who they want to file a lawsuit against. And this court should not interfere with that fundamental value, that rule of democracy.
Both sides say this case is likely to go to the Supreme Court. I want to bring in investigative reporter Olivia Rubin, along with ABC News political director Rick Klein and ABC News legal contributor Kim Whaley for more. Kim, what are the key arguments here? Is there any precedent for a case like this?
Well, there was one case out of New Mexico in which a judge did hold that someone who engaged in the January 6th insurrection could not hold office. But this is a president, and there is an argument that it doesn't actually apply to presidents because he's not an officer. It's an old law. It's part of the Constitution. So I'm not that persuaded by the argument that it's somehow undemocratic. It is in the text of the Constitution. It's a post-Civil War amendment, but there really isn't a lot of precedent for how to actually invoke it outside the scope of former Confederates in the Civil War. So this is a groundbreaking evidentiary hearing. This isn't being done just on briefs. They're actually going to hear testimony. And there's a bunch of questions. Can it apply to the president? Did he engage in an insurrection? And if he did, can the Secretary of State of Colorado, does she have the authority under Colorado law to keep him off the ballot? There's just a slew of question marks here. And I think the pushback really is that political argument that this is just too divisive for the country to invoke the Constitution itself. Again, as a legal matter, I don't find that very persuasive because the text is the text.
So, Olivia, Trump's team says that the suit should be dropped because the litigation would be too rushed and because Colorado election officials don't have the authority to decide a case like this. Why is this happening in Colorado?
Well, it's happening in Colorado because that's where this group, the crew, and the independent voters have brought the suit. But just from speaking to, a couple sources close to the case today, and what their sense is that this case in Colorado is not as important as the other cases that Donald Trump is facing right now. Because remember, he is facing multiple criminal charges in multiple different states. He's currently facing a civil suit that's underway in New York against his business empire. So while this case is just getting underway today, there are a number of others that have been underway for months and years. And so the Trump team certainly watching this case this morning, for sure, no doubt about it. Their eyes are in Colorado right now, but elsewhere is where the focus really is. And remember, Donald Trump's attorneys have said that he is not going to testify in this case. A motion to depose him under oath failed. It was rejected by the judge. So still remains to be seen exactly how close to Donald Trump himself this case is going to get, while every single other case does appear to be inching closer and closer to him.
Kim, that said, both sides are saying this case could be inching closer and closer to the Supreme Court. What are you watching for there?
Well, as Olivia indicates, for purposes of Donald Trump personally, the criminal cases and the civil case matter more, but none of those are going to keep him off the ballot. This case is about whether he can run for president in 2024. If he's convicted in one of these criminal cases, he can still be on the ballot. There's no national standard for keeping someone off the ballot, so it has to be done on a state by state by state basis. I think if it goes to the court, the question really is the Supreme Court going to step in and say January 6th was an insurrection that the Constitution cares about? Will they say that interfering with the peaceful transition of power is a no-go under American law in one way or the other? I think that would be a very clarifying, defining a ruling from the court. We did have the January 6th committee report that did find that it was insurrection, but we don't have a legal finding in that regard. And we're moving into, an election where democracy itself is on the ballot. So even if it doesn't necessarily have an an impact on the outcome. If this conservative-leaning court were to come in and say, we are going to consider this question, there is ambiguity under the Constitution, but if there's an insurrection, January 6th was one of them, I think that would be clarifying, even if it's politically polarizing, because at the end of the day, we're all Americans and we all should be invested in the peaceful transition of power and democracy continuing to function. And I'm not so sure that'll happen under a second Trump administration.
Rick, regardless of the legal ramifications here, former President Trump has been fundraising off these various legal cases against him. Could this end up helping him politically?
Well, in the past, he has been able to get a little bit of a rush of donations into his campaign, and the idea of him being under attack, he has been fundraising off these efforts to keep him off the ballot. He's been fundraising over the 2 gag orders that have been applied to him by different judges. Now, there's a chance that it also backfires, because what he's saying in any of those fundraising appeals could also potentially be used against him in any of these various proceedings. But what the last couple of months of Trump legal woes have taught us is that nothing seems to weaken him. If anything, it seems to strengthen him. And for a lot of his base, the idea that he might be kept off the ballot, that there's an effort in a bluer state of Colorado to keep him off the ballot, the Democratic entities are involved in that, is something that only fires them up even more. And it's not something that the other Republican candidates are likely to take up. Most of them have held their punches back when it comes to criticizing Trump, and most of them have said that he should at least be able to be on the ballot, give voters in the Republican primary the opportunity to decide.
All right, Olivia Rubin, Rick Klein, Kim Whaley, thank you all.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.